will be working on a project like I am here, where I've given the LLM a large task to chew on, and I want to work on something else while it's chewing on that task, but I need to make sure that my new project doesn't conflict with the old one. And very early on, I tried, hey, I'll just open up a second instance of Brokk against my project, and I'll be able to issue commands to two AIs at once. The problem is that as soon as one finishes its work, it's going to try to compile it and then see what errors it gets back and fix those errors. So if we're mixing in changes in progress from a second session, then those are going to just cause really large amounts of confusion to the AI. So in this session here, I'm fixing null away annotations. So I've added a compile time checker to Brokk to basically make sure that fields and parameters and return values that I think are not null are actually provably not null. That's an oversimplification, but that's good enough for our purposes here. I have about 400 errors. I've just added this new checking mechanism to my build system. I've got 400 errors across 20 plus files to fix, and so that's going to take a while. And so I need to spin up a new environment to be productive while the AI is going through that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a work tree, and a work tree is it's a lightweight checkout of your repository that does not have a separate copy of the Git index. It shares the one in your main repository, but everything else, all of your working tree files are separate. And so that's going to allow me to do what I want, which is work in this clean environment at the same time as this big refactoring is going on in my master repository. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to click on plus. I have a branch that I know I want to work on already, so I'm just going to use that existing branch. Then I'll click OK. Brokk opens up a new window. It opened up on my other monitor, so I pulled it over here. And now this is just like if I had cloned my repository a second time to this location, except that Brokk wires it up to the main checkout so that I don't need to reconfigure anything, set up anything like that. All of my models are here the way I've configured them. My project build is set up the way I've configured it. So all of that carries over from that main checkout. So now I can queue up my task. So I'll do a simple one here. When we're doing a full file replacement across triple backtick fences, make sure to look for the last instance of that fence to denote the end of what we're capturing, rather than the second instance, which risks missing embedded backticks in the block that we're trying to capture. So I'll do that. And before I kick that off, actually, I do want to let's also add the tests file. And so what Brokk's going to do now is, by default, the way that it configures things is that it will run the tests in the workspace. Because if you're working on a large project, running all the tests, like that could take an hour. It could take multiple hours. And so we're just going to have it run the tests in the workspace automatically as part of building the project when it's done making its changes. So while that's going on, just a little bit more about work trees. Work trees are required to have a separate branch or a distinct branch associated with them. In other words, I can't have more than one work tree that has the same branch checked out at the same time. And that's part of how Git can reuse that index across multiple work trees. However, a given work tree is not pinned to a specific branch. So that's part of the reason why Brokk uses just numeric names for these work tree directories rather than trying to give them names associated with the branch, is because you can change the branch. So I can go into my log, which is where you manage branches in Brokk, and I've got my edit block full file branch checked out right now, but I could say, check out this other branch, or do a number of things from there. And so it's still thinking about that, which is a little bit surprising to me, but that's one of the problems with choosing a thinking model. So right now I have my coding model set to Gemini 2.5 Pro, which is a good model in general, but sometimes it does end up overthinking. And one way to avoid that would be to configure a different model without thinking. Sonnet model supports thinking, but the default is to not have it think. Or Grok 3, which does not support thinking at all, and that would avoid that problem. So it did eventually say, okay, here's my code. That's probably why it took so long, is it's like I'm thinking about the best way to test it. And so now it's building. Make that a little bit bigger. And when that's done, I'm crossing my fingers that it works the first time, because when it's done, I want to show merging our changes into another branch. Actually, we don't need to wait for that. So I'll just show you what it looks like. I'm not actually going to merge it because the master branch is still busy working on that big refactor. But this is what I would do to do that, is you just say merge it into master, delete after merge. I don't need the branch afterwards. Hey, it did work on the first try. And then it's going to do, GitHub style. You can do a squash and merge. You can do a rebase and merge. You can do a merge commit. And then when you're done with the work tree, the deleting it, that actually has to happen from the other window. So we can go back to that. But I can delete it from here and say, hey, I'm done. So that's the basics of Git Worktrees in Brokk. Happy hacking.